before I get into it, how are you finding this time between shows?
It's a bit like a come down. You have like 2-3 weeks that's like incredibly low from just the adrenaline of like the build up of the show. So I remember even being at school and like doing a big hand in and feeling that. So I guess I've got back now at managing that low to getting back to kind of normal. And I just start very quickly doing the new collection. So I think we finished the last show and then like the next day I was back in the studio being like, what are we doing then?
The first time you were on SHOWstudio's radar was in 2020 when you were shortlisted for our Class of 2020 project when you were a BA student. Now that you're in the throes of really building your namesake brand, what do you think has changed in you as a designer?
It's work. It's like it's my job. It's it's a business. So you have to see things very differently. Like there's a commercial element to it. You can't make any mistakes. You have to deliver. Like you have to deliver literally the goods to the stores, and you have to deliver on the runway for you to talk about it. So there's like an element of pressure where we've got a really great intern. I said to them the other day, I was like, enjoy it. Like you don't have any bills, you don't have any, you can just, it can be shit and it can be great because it's shit, where suddenly like 3-4 years later you're like, eyes are on you and it has to be at a certain level. So I quite enjoy that.
Since you've graduated, you've kind of built up a few really major accolades. You were a finalist for the LVMH Prize and you are a NEWGEN recipient. I want to talk about your Autumn Winter 24 show because it was actually quite small. It was really intimate. It was here at Sarabande. Somebody who I think has maybe accrued that industry attention, I would assume would want to go as big as possible. What was the decision making there?
I wanted them to see the clothes. I wanted them to like touch the clothes. I wanted them to be, the collection was like about like walking home from a night out and walking down the canal, and Sarabande is on the canal, so like it just made sense. And financially we didn't have the money to go big, and even if we did, we wouldn't have. I think that we was lucky to, my producers are really amazing. We kind of planned that show out to be delivered exactly how it was in the end. That felt like someone hosting at their house, I think a lot of the partying, I don't really go to a club anymore, so it's usually in my house and it's with coops of shitty prosecco and cigarettes, and like that, we wanted that to feel like that. The opening look was Kiki in her dress with her scarf still on, and it was this like idea that she just got to the party and took her coat off but she still had her scarf on, and it was in someone's house in this like beautiful bias cut silk dress. And like it had to be seen in that context, otherwise it just wouldn't make sense. So I think the show and the production and how the show is seen is like as important to me as the clothes, because that's the fashion of it, right? So I think that when we're designing the collection, you're sort of designing the show as well as the collection. I mean, I don't really understand why like a lot of people be like, you don't need to do a show. But then, like, what context are you seeing the clothes in?
Exactly. It's like, it's that dynamic relationship between the clothes and
the woman or the man, and like the casting. Like so difficult when you're doing one model over 20 looks in a lookbook to have context of who that person is.
Right.
The casting to me is so important. I work really closely with my casting director. I mean, she works all year round on it. I mean, we saw hundreds and hundreds of people, but like when we got that group of the girls and the boys, half of them knew each other and had been out together the night before in the pub, and we had no idea. And I was like, oh, we done our job well. Like, they were part of the same gang. So then you see them walk out, then it's so convincing to the audience and to the customer and to the press that you're saying something with your clothes, because the faces and the attitude and the people that are wearing the clothes are saying something. So I think with that show it's not possible to do that. So to me the show and the experience and how it's seen is as important as the clothes.
What was it exactly about Kiki that
I mean, Kiki is a supermodel, right? So but she's my neighbour, and you know, we live a wall away, and it wasn't. It honestly, I said to her that like it's not about Kiki Willems doing the show. It's that she works for Chanel, and then I see her on Broadway Market with her coat and her hood wrapped around her face, but she like the next morning. So like it kind of just made sense for us that she was the woman, and I think there was just real synergy there where it felt really authentic. Where, you know, if it was another supermodel, I don't care about it being a name. I think she's the woman. So she was a great opening, you know, model for us, and I think she really established that first, you know, as they walked out, the lights turned on, and like I still now like get goosebumps, you know.
Is that nonchalantness, that I guess ease, kind of how you look at London fashion?
Yeah. If I think of the people that are cool, they could like go to any rail and put on any clothes and it looked great. You know, whether it's at a charity shop, whether it's their grandma's rail, they could still make it look chic. And I think that nonchalance, I think, is that sort of really deep coolness that comes with, I think, this very sort of specific niche of people in East London that love fashion. You know? And I love that you know, you go to them parties and a lot of them people are wearing their sort of charity shop vintage finds, but with like this amazing Celine vintage coat that they've scoured the internet for, and no one else knows what it is but them, right? But they know exactly what collection it's from, who designed it, where it's seen, who wore it on the runway, because they love fashion. So I think that's kind of the group of people that we're telling the story of, is that this like, you know, lover of fashion, but from a very kind of indie, East London, gritty place.
I want to talk about kind of the references in this collection, because I saw a lot of mid-aughts indie sleaze, I saw a lot of 60s couture. What kind of was it about those two reference points that you found really interesting, and more so interesting to put together?
I just think it's just like, I'm really into it at the moment. Like, that's such a shitty answer, but like it just is, like, really into, like, at that moment was so into like pap photos of Kate, and was so in my eBay search was, you know, old Alaïa. So it was just about kind of, it just naturally, I didn't start and be like, I'm gonna look at these two things. You know, we researched, our Google Drive has thousands of images. It kind of just naturally brought itself out that they were the two things that were kind of mostly in the research folder. And it just feels quite current in terms of like what I think is cool. You know? I hate indie sleaze, such a like,
it's horrible.
It's a horrible term. And I also like hate that aesthetic. I think there's something that's like much more real about skinny jeans and a Brandy Melville jumper than trying to embody that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's become contrived.
Yeah, it's become contrived.
The TikTok generation is clinging on to something.
Exactly.
That feels less than authentic.
Yeah.
I hate it too, but I think the elements that you've incorporated in this collection, the skinny ties, the skinny jeans, the kind of oversized, I just threw it on from the bedroom floor. It really works, and it speaks to kind of the ethos of...
Well, it's like real, right?
Yeah.
It's like literally like feels authentic, and like, and I guess that's what makes it convincing, and I guess that's why people have liked it, because it feels real. You know, you're not trying to do something that feels out of reach to people. I think luxury fashion can always like feel a bit intimidating to someone, because I mean, I don't know anyone that like goes into Chanel and buys their wardrobe, right? But like, I love Chanel, so it's the idea of it, but the actual realism of it is so far away from anything that anyone I know or anything that I know. But the idea of it is so amazing. So I guess it's taking them ideas of real high-end luxury French fashion and putting it into something that feels
real,
visceral and real and edible to someone that is like us. You know?
When I think about Erin Ash, I think the two words that come to mind are cool and chic, which in fashion are kind of these arbitrary terms, right? That mean a lot, but also mean nothing. How do you define ideas of cool and chic? What's cool and chic to you?
Oh, cool and chic is like terrible words.
I know, it's like they're literally the worst. But I mean, there are times when I see something and I'm like, I can't think of anything beyond chic. Like if I look at a really amazing molded Alaïa dress on the right girl,
it's chic.
It's chic.
Yeah. But what makes it chic? Because it's like so effortless, right?
Mm-hmm. Even though it's this.
So like, if I think of like the designers that I think are like the most chic, so probably Kiki, right? Like I think Alaïa is like so incredibly chic. But why? Because it looks so effortless, but it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the thing that makes something feel cool and chic. Is like it being incredibly well constructed and well thought out, and essentially contrived, with it completely not feeling like that at all. So I guess they're the elements that we really care about in everything that we do. How the clothes are made, how the show is, who the models are. I think it's that feeling that makes me love fashion, or the fashion that I love. So that's good that you think that.
Is that, I guess, also the reason why Kate Moss is kind of a muse?
Well, yeah, I guess so. You know, Kate loves fashion. You know, I think there's easy to find someone that is a muse or you think that is cool, that is styled by someone else, but she loves clothes. So I think there's that element of the reason I love her is that she's able to take them clothes and throw them on in any way, but every photo of her always looks so easy, exactly. That's the word.
I want to talk about this second look, this cocoon fuzzy coat. And I want to start with the coat.
The coat, okay. I mean, the coat is wool. It's got like a hook and a bar at the neck, and a covered button, and it's this big cocoon shape with like invisible pockets. And like, just love this idea of them kind of just being like, you know.
I immediately thought of like Cristobal Balenciaga, 60s.
It was that's the reference.
Why was that so appealing as a reference? Is it just
I think that silhouette. No, the silhouette is just so incredibly French. You know, like it's so incredibly 60s Paris. So we were looking through the research and we're like, what makes, from a silhouette perspective, like what makes something feel that reference? And we were like, this cocoon shape is, you know. So that was literally the reference, was that kind of Balenciaga 50s, 60s.
Amazing.
And then we were like, how can we make it feel as not that as possible? So we thought, like, pop his collar and make it faux fur.
So I think the fur really worked with this reference because it gave it this kind of raw, worn-in vibe. And what about these amazing silver trousers?
I mean, it's like, they were risky. It was like risky because you're either kind of ripping off Hedi and making it feel so Celine, which we were really careful of, that we were like, we don't want it to read that. But we thought, like, with the white shoes and with the right boy, it wouldn't feel that. So it was a roll of fabric that we got that was like end of roll fabric, and we tried the different garments. I was like, it's just got to be the jean and it's got to be with this look specifically, and I think it worked really well. I think that they were like, it was just pushing the limit of good taste, you know, with the white shoes. But I think it was great. It worked.
I immediately got like Dior Homme.
But I think it's like, I think there's an ownership of that era that you don't want to kind of
overstep.
Overstep is maybe the wrong phrase. I just like, you want to present something new, right? I love that. I love that fashion, but like, I guess it's referencing that in a way that feels yourself. And a silver skinnies could have, you know, you put it with a leather jacket, it would have looked like that. So I think Yeah, we wanted something that was a little bit special and that felt like a runway piece rather than maybe the other skinnies that felt a little bit kind of normal.
Now that you're really building a business and your namesake, do you feel a pressure to come up with a real identifiable signature?
Not really. I think that goes away against them kind of DNAs that we spoke about, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think if I sat down and was like, what's a signature? It would just feel fake. And then no one would even like find it convincing anyway. So I haven't ever thought about that. I genuinely haven't ever really thought about like, I guess it's a negative that when you have to think of it in a commercial aspect, but very rarely do, even though that some of the clothes are quite commercial, like a little knit. It's incredibly commercial, but like I saw it as a little knit, not because, oh, this is sellable. So no, not really. I understand that this is like a commercial venture that has to like feed itself, employ staff, pay its VAT, and like, you know, it's a business. So, but I've tried to separate myself from that to like the work. And I think what will grow the business is the work being strong enough over a period of time that then I think everyone that's engaged with us has been quite authentic because they like they relate to the point of view or they get it. And I think that's much better customers than having someone for the sake of just wearing it because they like a celebrity or something. We don't do really any celebrity dressing. I very rarely say yes to an editorial just because the image is so important and there's so many people that, and myself is included, that like so careful about how the image is seen, that the image is essentially more important than the clothes, you know. So if you give it to a photographer, even though like there's so many photographers that I love or stylists that I love, you're out of control of how that's seen. So unless it's someone that I really relate to from a kind of point of view, very rarely say yes. Or like, I think we've said yes to 1 or 2 celebs, but we'd never ever do it from a point of view of like, oh, if they wear this jumper, it will sell out. I couldn't care less about that. It's much more about that person being aligned with the brand. And I think that that kind of slow process has actually been way more beneficial than taking the easy routes at the beginning and dressing someone really big and like getting 100k Instagram followers because of them, but actually in the end no one actually liking the clothes because they only liked it because X or Y. So yeah, I think that it is a commercial venture, but I think it's a long-term thing where what we're building is brand IP and brand identity, and the clothes and the image all sort of fit within that.
Really refreshing to hear.